The most painful execution in history, betrayed, beaten, and crucified. This is the story of Jesus Christ's final moments, and the sacrifice that changed the world forever. It all began on a quiet evening in Jerusalem. Jesus, knowing what was to come, gathered his disciples for one last meal. "One of you will betray me," he said. His words sent shockwaves through the room. Judas Iscariot, the friend-turned-traitor, he had already agreed to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, and soon, the soldiers would come. Under the moonlight, Jesus prayed in agony. "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will but yours be done." Sweat like drops of blood fell to the ground as he prepared for what was ahead. And then, betrayal. Judas arrives, giving the fatal kiss. The soldiers seize Jesus. The Messiah is now a prisoner. Dragged before the Sanhedrin, mocked, beaten, and falsely accused, then brought to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor. "Are you the king of the Jews?" Pilate asked. Jesus replied, "My kingdom is not of this world." Pilate found no fault in him, but the crowd, the very people Jesus healed, taught, and loved, turned against him. "Crucify him!" they roared. Pilate washed his hands. The decision was made. Roman whips tore through his flesh, a crown of thorns pressed into his head. Blood ran down his face, the King of Kings treated as a criminal. Weak and wounded, he carried his cross through Jerusalem, every step agony. Nails driven into his hands, into his feet, each strike of the hammer echoed through the heavens. For hours he hung there, humiliated, suffering, the sky darkened, the earth trembled. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," he prayed. And then, the words that shook eternity, "It is finished." With one final breath, the Son of God gave his life. At that moment, the temple veil was torn in two, the price of sin paid in full. 3 days later, the world would witness the greatest miracle of all, but that is another story. Jesus' sacrifice was not just for that moment in history, it was for you, for me, for all of us. If this story moved you, share it with the world, because the message of the cross still changes lives today. Like, subscribe and share for more inspirational stories.